जय श्री श्री राधा माधव श्री श्री रुक्मिणी द्वारकाधीश की जय, श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा माई की जय, श्री श्री गौर निताय की जय, Divine Grace Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, इसको गुरु वृंद की जय, समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Gyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmiritam Yana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Hayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchagavatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvevacha Patitanam Pavanepyo Vaishnavepyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnaparaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bhutay Mahatpriyama Pura Vibhur Nirmakshati Admusha Purusha Bhungte Gunan Sudasa Sadasatmakalam Krishishta Bhagavan Vachamsi Me Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we continue reading first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 9, the passing away of Bhishma Dev, text 26. Purushasva bhava vihitan Purushasva bhava vihitan Yatha varnam yatha shramam Yatha varnam yatha shramam Vairagya ragapatipyam Vairagya ragapadhipyam Amnata bhaya lakshanam Amnata bhaya lakshanam Purushasva bhava vihitan Yatha varnam yatha shramam Vairagya ragapadhipyam Amnata bhaya lakshanam. Please. Purushasva bhava vihitan Yatha varnam yatha shramam Vairagya ragapadibhyam Amnata bhaya lakshanam Purushasva bhava vihitan Yatha varnam yatha shramam Vairagya ragapadibhyam Amnata bhaya lakshanam Purushasva bhava vihitam Yatha varnam yatha shramam Vairagya ragapadibhyam Amnata bhava lakshanam. Ladies, please. Purushasva bhava vihitan Yatha varnam yatha shramam Vairagya raga padibhyam Amnata bhayalakshanam Purushasva bhava vihitan Yadhavarna yadhashamam Vairagya ragapadibhyam Amnata bhayalakshanam Shasva bhava vihitan Purusha, the human being, Svabhava, by his own acquired qualities, Vihitan, prescribed, Yadha, according to, Varnam, classification of castes, Yadha, according to, Ashramam, orders of life, Vairagya, detachment, Raga, attachment, Upadibhyam, out of such designations, Amnata, systematically, Ubhaya, both, Lakshanam, symptoms. Translation purported by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. At Maharaj Yudhishthira's inquiry, Bhishmadev first defined all the classifications of castes and orders of life in terms of the individual's qualifications. Then he systematically, in twofold divisions, described counteraction by detachment and interaction by attachment. And purport, which is 6 paragraphs long, so I hope you'll have enough patience. The conception of 4 castes and 4 orders of life, as planned by the Lord Himself, Bhagavad Gita 4.13, is to accelerate transcendental qualities of the individual person so that he may gradually realize his spiritual identity and thus act accordingly to get free from material bondage or conditional life. In almost all the Puranas, the subject matter is described in the same spirit, and so also in the Mahabharata. It is more elaborately described by Bhishmadev in the Shanti Parva, beginning from the 60th chapter. The Varnashram Dharma is prescribed for the civilized human being just to train him to successfully terminate human life. Self-realization is distinguished from the life of the lower animals engaged in eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. Bhishmadev advised for all human beings 9 qualifications. 1. Not to become angry. 2. Not to lie. 3. To equally distribute wealth. 4. To forgive. 5. To beget children only by one's legitimate wife. 6. To be pure in mind and hygienic in body. 7. Not to be inimical towards anyone. 8. To be simple. And 9. To support servants or subordinates. One cannot be called a civilized person without acquiring the above-mentioned preliminary qualities. Besides these, the Brahmanas, the intelligent man, the administrative man, the mercantile community, and the laborer class must acquire special qualities in terms of occupational duties mentioned in all the Vedic scriptures. For the intelligent man, controlling the senses is the most essential qualification. It is the basis of morality. Sex indulgence, even with a legitimate wife, must also be controlled, and thereby family control will automatically follow. An intelligent man abuses his great qualifications if he does not follow the Vedic way of life. This means he must seriously make a study of the Vedic literatures, especially of the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita. For learning Vedic knowledge, one must approach a person who is 100% engaged in devotional service. He must not do things which are forbidden in the Shastras. A person cannot be a teacher if he drinks or smokes. In a modern system of education, the teacher's academic qualification is taken into consideration without evaluation of his moral life. Therefore, the result of education is misuse of high intelligence in so many ways. The Kshatriya, as the member of the administrative class, is especially advised to give charity and not to accept charity in any circumstances. If anyone was ever wondering why Kshatriyas cannot accept charity under no circumstances, in modern terms it's called bribe. This is what it is. And so Kshatriya who takes money sells himself to some, selfish man. So that's why Kshatriyas can never accept any charity or bribes, because that destroys their purity. They can take taxes though. That's their means of livelihood. So Kshatriyas are not meant to be beggars, they are meant to take things by force, to apply force. Modern administrators raise subscriptions for some political functions, but never give charity to the citizens in any state function. It's just to reverse in the injunctions of the Shastras. The administrative class must be well versed in the Shastras, but must not take to the profession of teachers. The administrators should never pretend to become non-violent and thereby go to hell. When Arjuna wanted to become a non-violent coward on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he was severely chastised by Lord Krishna. The Lord degraded Arjuna at that time to the status of an uncivilized man for his avowed acceptance of the cult of non-violence. Anarya Jushtam Asvargyam Akirtikaram Arjuna. The administrative class must be personally trained in military education. Cowards should not be elevated to the presidential throne by dint of numerical votes only. The monarchs were all chivalrous personalities, and therefore monarchy should be maintained provided the monarch is regularly trained in the occupational duties of a king. In fighting, the king or the president should never return home without being hurt by the enemy. What a standard, my God. If they apply this standard, all the wars will stop automatically because no one wants to be hurt, right? The so-called king of today never visits the warfield. He is very much expert in artificially encouraging the fighting strength in the hope of false national prestige. As soon as the administrative class is turned into a gang of mercantile and laborer men, the whole machinery of government becomes polluted. The Vaishyas, the members of the mercantile communities, are especially advised to protect the cows. Cow protection means increasing the milk production, namely curd and butter. Agriculture and distribution of the foodstuff are the primary duties of the mercantile community, backed by education and Vedic knowledge and trained to give in charity. As the Kshatriyas were given charge of the protection of the citizens, Vaishyas were given the charge of the protection of animals. Animals are never meant to be killed. Killing of animals is a symptom of barbarian society. For a human being, agriculture produce fruits and milk are sufficient and compatible foodstuffs. The human society should give more attention to animal protection. The productive energy of the laborer is misused when he is occupied by industrial enterprises. Industry of various types cannot produce the essential needs of man, namely rice, wheat, grains, milk, fruits and vegetables. The production of machines and machine tools increases the artificial living fashion of a class of vested interests and keep thousands of men in starvation and unrest. This should not be the standard of civilization. The Shudra class is less intelligent and should have no independence. They are meant for rendering sincere service to the three highest sections of the society. The Shudra class can attain all comforts of life simply by rendering service to the higher classes. It's especially enjoined that a Shudra should never bank money. As soon as the Shudras accumulate wealth, it will be misused for sinful activities in wine, women, and gambling. Wine, women, and gambling indicate that the population is degraded to less than Shudra quality. The higher caste should always look after the maintenance of the Shudras, and they should provide them with old and used garments. A Shudra should not leave his master when the master is old and invalid, and the master should keep the servants satisfied in all respects. The Shudras must first of all be satisfied by sumptuous food and clothing before any sacrifice is performed. In this age, so many functions are held by spending millions, but the poor laborer is not sumptuously fed or given charity, clothing, etc. The laborers are thus dissatisfied, and so they make agitation. The Varnas are, so to speak, classification of different occupations, and ashrama dharma is gradual progress on the path of self-realization. Both are interrelated, and one is dependent on the other. The main purpose of ashrama dharma is to awaken knowledge and detachment. The brahmacharya ashram is the training ground for the prospective candidates. In this ashrama, it is instructed that the material world is not actually the home of the living being. The conditioned soul under material bondage are prisoners of matter, and therefore self-realization is the ultimate aim of life. The whole system of ashrama dharma is a means to detachment. One who fails to assimilate this spirit of detachment is allowed to enter into family life with the same spirit of detachment. Therefore, one who attains detachment may at once adopt the fourth order, namely, renounced, and thus live on charity only. Not to accumulate wealth, but just to keep body and soul together for ultimate realization. Householder life is for one who is attached, and the vanaprastha and sannyas orders of life are for those who are detached from material life. The brahmacharya ashram is especially meant for training both the attached and detached. Hare Krishna. Purusha svabhava vihitan yathavarnam yatashramam vairagya varagopadipyam amnatabhyam amnatabhaya lakshanam. At Maharaj Yudhishthira's inquiry, Bhishmadev first defined all the classification of castes and orders of life in terms of the individual's qualifications. Then he systematically, in twofold division, described counteraction by detachment and interaction by attachment. So, as Mrigupati Prabhu very nicely described yesterday, this is a very amazing part of Srimad Bhagavatam, and very amazing episode when Bhishmadev, being in such a difficult condition, being pierced by the arrows all over, is giving such a lengthy class, right? And he also brought up the wonderful analogy with Srila Prabhupada, who was on his deathbed, and he was still unfazed by all the miserable conditions of the body, and he continued in the same way as Bhishmadev, giving transcendental knowledge, right? Until he couldn't speak anymore. He was still dictating Bhaktivedanta purports. So this is amazing example. Actually, we understand that Srila Prabhupada is, practically speaking, as great Mahajan as Bhishmadev. Of course, Srila Prabhupada was not taking that very seriously. We hear the story how one time Srila Prabhupada described 12 Mahajans and their glories, and one disciple raised his hand and he said, Srila Prabhupada, you're also, there are 12 Mahajans, but you are the 13th Mahajan. And Srila Prabhupada kind of dismissed that in a joking way. He said, but you are what, the 14th. So we understand from Srila Prabhupada's example that he was exhibiting the exact same symptoms described in the scripture of the great personality. And this is how we come to the conclusion of his status. And amazingly enough, another correlation, another parallel with Srila Prabhupada's passing away is that this was the main subject he was concerned with, Varnashram. That actually at the end he said that 50% of my mission is not accomplished because I gave spiritual practices, I gave spiritual knowledge, but half of my mission is to establish social system which is matching scriptural standards. And so this was his last wish, that we as his followers do something about it. That Srila Prabhupada actually came not just to establish one more religious organization, that's for sure. That his goal was much greater, much higher than just to add yet another religion to the very long list of existing ones. And this is very clearly reflected in the very first purpose of ISKCON. I'm thinking sometimes the devotees can ask themselves the question, why the first purpose of ISKCON is the first one? And it's very interesting if you compare the first two purposes. The first one is to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large and teach all people the techniques of spiritual life in order to check the imbalance of values in life and to achieve real unity and peace in the world. And then second purpose says to propagate the consciousness of God, Krishna, or consciousness of Krishna, God in brackets, something like that, as it is revealed in Vedic scriptures such as Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. So it's very interesting that both purposes stand for propagation. But second one is to propagate Krishna consciousness as such, but first one is to propagate spiritual knowledge and the techniques of spiritual life, which is very interesting. And there is another conversation Srila Prabhupada had with his disciples when he was asking, what are the bases of our philosophy? And the devotees were saying different things. Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Love of God is the ultimate aim of life. And serving the Supreme Lord is the purpose of life. And Srila Prabhupada said, no, none of this. The foundation is we are not the body, but we're spirit souls. And we can understand, anyone who listened enough of Prabhupada's classes knows how much Srila Prabhupada spoke on this particular subject matter. And this is why Bhagavad Gita, much before it explains, well, Krishna much before he explains that he is the Supreme Lord, what to speak of the need of serving him with love, that comes much later. And even the mentioning that he is the Supreme Lord comes only in the 4th chapter. But the explanation that we're spirit souls and not the body is already in the 2nd chapter. This is how Krishna starts the whole Bhagavad Gita. So this is the foundation of spiritual advancement, and that's why we can understand that anyone who is accepting that point, that he or she is not the body but spirit soul, is on the right path. And these people can advance spiritually. And so this is what Srila Prabhupada was expecting, that we take the responsibility for the systematic advancement of the entire world. That the first purpose is for the world, not just for us, not just for some selected group of people. So Srila Prabhupada did come to conquer the whole world spiritually. And it actually does happen. Amazingly enough, when Srila Prabhupada just came, certain things like yoga and vegetarianism were kind of fringy types of activities, right? I found out recently that our Govinda's restaurant in central London, 9 and 10 Soho Street, that's our temple and Govinda's restaurant in London, is historically the very first still functioning vegetarian restaurant in the whole London. If you go to London today, you will find so many vegetarian, vegan restaurants everywhere, on every street corner practically, right? Hundreds, if not thousands of them. But there was a time, believe it or not, where there were no vegetarian restaurants in the entire London. And then, lo and behold, Hare Krishnas came. And they started it all. So actually, so many things were started by the devotees, and now you can see that they really went mainstream, right? And it's a very long list. And so we can see that Krishna conscious principles and values do penetrate the society more and more. And because devotees are distributing so many books, and they present Krishna consciousness in so many ways. And then, as always, there will be not too many people who will want to fully dedicate their lives to Krishna, right? Because Krishna consciousness is a serious business. It's like 4 regulative principles and 16 rounds a day, 2 hours meditation a day. This is just for starters. And then things, start becoming more serious after that, right? Then you have to rise early in the morning and take cold shower and read all Prabhupada books from cover to cover and keep reading them more and more, and then keep chanting more and more until you chant 24 hours, and you should be giving up your sleep altogether and taking only prasadam and being engaged in devotional service 24 hours. Some devotees are puzzled, how can I be engaged 24 hours and chant 24 hours? But be engaged and chant at the same time, that's ideal. So we have really high standards, right? And that's why it's not a surprise that not many people can become so serious. That's why it says Manusyanam Sahasrishu, right? Bragopati Prabhu was mentioning yesterday Manusyanam millions Rishu, Yeah. So devotees are so rare. But many people do read Prabhupada books, or by associating with devotees, they get some ideas connected to Krishna consciousness, and they really like it, and they take it and they run with it, and they make it into their life's mission. They might not be chanting 16 rounds and following 4 eggs, but they do contribute. And I think this is really important to recognize that we have so many friends and supporters and well-wishers, and somehow keep in touch with them and support them and guide them and help them to increase their impact, increase their contribution to the advancement of the entire population. I was just thinking about this very bold move made by Leonardo DiCaprio and Richard Branson maybe a year or so ago, when they organized a huge event to promote global ban on beef, right? And I was thinking, they attack one of the biggest attachments people have. And so if they push, and this event was attended by so many thousands of people in New York, of all the places. But I was thinking, if they push hard enough, trying to stop people from, doing what they really attached to, they can even be assassinated. Because they understand that beef is evil, but they want to stop people by force somehow. And we could contribute to that by giving people higher taste, by giving people positive alternative, because this is how people can really give up lower taste, by Bhagavad Prasadam. So I was thinking, if we would work with these people, we could help them to move forward, and at the same time help to move forward our own mission. So that's something which I think is really important for us to kind of contemplate and try and do it as much as we can to accelerate the development of the golden age of Lord Chaitanya. Because people are still suffering so much from the onslaughts of Kali Yuga. And to show compassion to them, we should do something serious. And I was thinking that we are kind of, disseminating Krishna consciousness is like sowing so many seeds, and so all these seeds are growing everywhere. And we're just sowing the seeds, and, even completely detached from harvesting, from taking the harvest. But there are so many opportunities for us to actually contribute to the social spiritual development. This is a really big part of our mission. And of course, to take part in that, we need to become qualified, because it can be done only by serious and professional devotees. But in one sense, it will serve as an impetus for us to become serious ourselves in our practices, by understanding really what Srila Prabhupada wanted from us. That he was saying that the society is missing the head. Society has everything but not the head. And so he expected devotees to learn spiritual knowledge and acquire spiritual qualification, and then provide the society with spiritual guidance. And so Every devotee can do that in one's position. And in this way we can satisfy Srila Prabhupada and all the previous acharyas. Hare Krishna. So, if there are any questions, comments, Brigupati Prabhu, microphone.
Thank you, Maharaj. Very nice class. I'd like to propose that you adjust your schedule in such a way that you spend more time here in New Dwarka and make New Dwarka the place for a pilot program of what you were talking about. Because it takes a person to do it. I think everything you said was correct. I agree with it. But I just don't see it happening. Just like, I'll give you an example. Like here in New Dwarka, we haven't had a Bhakti program for years. And then the right person came along, Arya Siddhanta Prabhu, and he was trained by Donovan Raj how to do a Bhakti program, and now we have an incredible Bhakti program. We've got, 7 or 9 Bhaktas and out of the clear blue sky because the right person came to do it. I think that we have fertile ground here for what you were talking about. We had that television station come out, and you probably heard about that from the devotees. They were very impressed. And this place is impressive. You got people here who are trying for spiritual life, and we've gone a long way. We've got a lot of things in place. So we just need the right person to come and make it happen.
I'll be happy to spend more time in New Dwarka.
That's my proposal.
Sure.
It's an unauthorized, unofficial.
You can talk to Sohas Prabhu about it. Thank you. Archita Prabhu.
Jai Maharaj, you spoke about how ISKCON has influenced the society at large, but sometimes, unfortunately, the opposite also happens. You have your core, which should be solid and firm, being affected by what's happening outside. I'll give you a concrete example. Because of Prabhupada's desire that everybody be fed within at least a 10-mile radius of each temple, nobody should go hungry, the Food for Life program started. And it became famous internationally. We would even go into conflict zones, as you know personally, from your experience, and distribute prasadam. But then over the years, those who were running the program became influenced by the vegan movement. And instead of remaining a prasadam distribution organization, it became a vegan distribution organization. And it wasn't so important whether it was prasadam or not. It was more important that it was vegan. And because of that, they attracted a lot of money. And that money, I know, because I was traveling in Europe, my last 2 trips, people were telling me how it's affected the mentality of those who receive the money. And now they're proposing and actually spending that money for animal welfare, taking care of stray cats and dogs. That's not what Prabhupada had in mind. That's not what Prabhupada had in mind. He had a very firm recommendation. Feed people prasadam. That's it. Feed people prasadam. And because of being influenced by the outside people, it became, and it's still being influenced to be a watered down version of what Prabhupada wanted. So we have to be very careful. Yes, we are influencers, but we can also be influenced, and we should try not to be influenced by the outsiders.
Yeah, it is true that that's why Prabhupada was saying we should learn to catch big fish without getting wet. Unfortunately, it's happening, but we still have to do the job. Like Atma Prabhu, can you give him the microphone? Yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj. Just to take off a little bit more from Archita's point just now, there's also the view from some people who have gone toward that vegan direction that there's disappointment in that the society hasn't done enough to protect animals.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just that they want to become a vegan because it's a cool thing to do, or that it's some spontaneous thing. But there's also some well thought out ideas that the society should be doing more to protect animals.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's stray cats or dogs, or cows especially. And the society hasn't done enough to do that. So in some cases it's out of protest. So I'm just making that point because it's not that the vegan movement or vegan devotees even are so much opposed to Mother Cow, because she's providing the most important food stuff, certainly. But if the society is not doing enough to protect them, what alternative do we have? Out of one's own conscience, someone may not want to take that. At the same time, because it's offered to the deities as prasadam, as Archita Prabhu was pointing out, that's a higher principle. There's no doubt. But some people don't necessarily see it that way. They may see it that, well, we're not doing enough to protect the cow, which we're supposed to do, which Varnashram Dharma is supposed to do, but we haven't done it. So I just wanted to make that one point.
Thank you. Yeah, there are always two sides to every issue. Mataji?
I remember when we were distributing prasadam, it was so dynamic because we were giving a taste of something that people had never had before. And it was very creative and very dynamic. And so I'd like to see that spirit was enlivened in prasadam distribution. And then people get this taste. It won't matter whether it's vegan or anything. It'll be prasadam. It'll have this potency. But unfortunately, I think we've gotten a little boring through the years.
Yeah. I was thinking that something I would love to see happening is what I call in my mind elite prasadam distribution. That not just food for needy people, but actually food, spiritual food. And just promote the idea of spiritual food, spiritualized food, which is not just for the body, but changes one's consciousness. We can call it yoga food or anti-stress food, whatever it is. Yeah. Yeah, but still.
In addition to feeding the poor people, they also had a nice big kiosk where they would
Yeah.
distribute all these wonderful cakes and all that stuff, and people would line up every day. I was there personally. I saw it. They would line up and come.
Yeah.
So they call that their food for money program, and we should do that. No problem.
Yeah.
We have it here. It's called Govinda's Restaurant.
Yeah, unfortunately, still, the spiritual aspect of prasadam is not really highlighted in either Food for Life or Food for Money, but elite food distribution, I would say that, yeah, this is very special food, surcharged by powerful energy, which can affect positively your consciousness, and so that people would be motivated by that aspect rather than by taste or by hunger or by some external things. All right, Prabhu.
I just wanted to touch on briefly the power of prasadam. When I first met the devotees, they would go every Sunday in a park in Coconut Grove, along with many other groups on Sunday. There was this yoga group, there was that yoga group, and for refreshments, all the other yoga groups basically had peanut butter on a piece of celery. That was it. And the devotees had this huge spread of all kinds of things, and the difference, you can't measure it. So we should not think that there's any limitation of the effect of prasadam. That's all.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, Srila Prabhupada gave us so many amazing elements, and if any devotee would take one of them and perfect them, we can affect so many people and encourage so many people. Whether it is food or knowledge or different elements of culture or association or visiting holy places, there is no limit. Or spiritual discipline, there are so many things. So, if there are any no more questions or comments, okay, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, thank you for the class, Swamiji. Do you think it's better to just keep sowing the seeds as we're already doing and wait for the spiritual knowledge to just gradually spill over and influence society, or should we do it more directly by establishing like the college? I remember that's laid out in Ravindranath's book that was just quotes about Srila Prabhupada establishing Varnashram Dharma in society and things like that. Should we do that more? Should we have more priority on establishing those things, or just wait and be more like hands-off for now?
Well, in the end, Srila Prabhupada was also saying that certain devotees are also, he was recognizing that certain devotees in our society are also not really capable of following everything very strictly. So he was suggesting that we should establish Varnashram according to the qualities of the people, and recognizing that, yes, some people can follow very, very strictly everything Srila Prabhupada gave, like Svavas Prabhu, like mind-blowing example, his sadhana as line in the stone can never be erased, every single morning, and all other aspects. Brigupati Prabhu distributing, books for so many decades, and so many other dedicated souls, of which New Dwarka have plenty of amazing examples. But this is rare. And somehow, I guess because this is like Western headquarters of the society, it attracts all the devotees of caliber and quality. But unfortunately, not all the devotees are capable of following that strictly. So for them, establishing themselves in a larger society, in some role which is supportive to the social spiritual development, would be, very helpful. And it's like, I remember the episode in London when devotees were fighting to keep the Bhaktivedanta Manor open to the public access. As some of you might know, that neighbors complained so much about, the flood of visitors every Sunday, that finally the authorities had to, stop the public access to Bhaktivedanta Manor. And devotees were fighting for the right to keep the temple open. And then Mukunda Maharaj, who was communication minister at the time, communication in charge, he was thinking, I should contact some of the, groups who share our values and who could kind of support us. And then he called one animal rights group, and he was saying, we are calling from Hare Krishna temple, this is this and that, this is my name, and this is the issue. If you could support us on that. And then he hears on the other end, Hari Bol Maharaj, how are you doing? We will definitely support you, but not for free. You will have to give us Mahaprasadam. You have to bring us Mahaprasadam, and then we'll support you. And then Maharaj realized that, oh my God, all these groups, in so many of these groups, the active ones are devotees. And they may not be able to follow everything so strictly, but still they have, the values Srila Prabhupada gave so deeply in them. And even though they cannot do everything, but they want to do at least something for Srila Prabhupada. And so, actually, it is true that so many of these groups were developing and are developing so nicely, because there are people who were in Krishna consciousness or were practicing devotional service, etc. So there are many facets to that development. All right, so thank you all very much for your kind attention and your hospitality. It was real pleasure to be at New Dwarka, and I hope I can serve you further when I come back next year. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Nitaya Gaur Premanande.